me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you better. Can you hear me any better?
Yes, I can hear you so much better now. Let me see.
Okay, I'm gonna.
And it looks like we are live. Let me tell them. Tie. All right. We're getting a live tour here of one of the farms. My name is Dr. Sharnael, Wolverton-Sehon with Spitfire. We have David Little here with us today, and he's giving us a bit of a tour of not only the farm stuff, but the distillery. Hopefully you guys are seeing all this. He's running all over the place to make sure we can get a really good view of all the things that he is in charge of. He's totally over the United States farms, and he's got a lot to say and a lot to show us here today about the quality, the distillery, the farms themselves, and also he's going to go in his relationship with Gary, who we love, and some of that, how he met Gary and got involved with all this. But right now he's kind of just giving us a glimpse of up here to the right, you can see the distillery and the steam coming up. And where are you, David? Is that one of the
So right now I'm in one of the greenhouses, and I'll let you do the rest of your introduction, and then I'll get started and go through my thing.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, David? I actually met you at one of the rallies in Baton Rouge with a group of people that we were with, and you just made me cry. I just wanted to hug you the whole time. But tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved with Gary and Young Living and the whole situation.
Okay, so going way back, I don't know how much history to give you, but going way back, I'm an agronomist by trade, which means I understand the relationships between soil and plants and water and crop production and how to make plants healthy and be able to achieve their genetic expression of essential oils. And so I've done a lot of consulting essentially all over the world. 4 years ago, I met Gary Young, and I sold my business and came to work with Young Living because there was something missing for me about agriculture. And when I met Gary, it became all about everything that we do at Young Living is all about people. It's about people. It's about those that we care about. It's about somebody that I don't even know that I meet on a bus, and I can see that they're hurting, either emotionally or stress or physically, and they need something to support their body that will enable their body to function, to heal itself. Now, as we go throughout our little presentation today, I'm not speaking of the fact that Young Living essential oils will cure all the diseases known to man. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the way that Young Living produces our aromatic plants and distills our essential oils, it makes it so that those essential oils are therapeutic. What that means is they're effective. We're all mortal. It means I'm going to die someday. You're going to die someday. And our bodies don't speak synthetic, right? They don't speak synthetic. They're natural. They're biological. They're living. And so plants are very, very similar to the human body in that they don't speak synthetic either. So in order to enable our plants to achieve their genetic expression of essential oil and have all of the constituents that are needed to make that essential oil effective, at supporting, maybe it's my skin organ, maybe it's my pituitary gland, maybe it's my digestive system, maybe it's, think of all the systems in our body, our neurological system. Our physical body has all of these different biological systems. And because we're mortal, they don't always work like they should, right? And not only that, what's wrong with my physical body and making it awesome isn't going to be the same exact thing that's wrong with your physical body, right?
That's
it's
right.
something completely different. So essential oils are going to work differently for me than they do for you, okay? But when we have seed to seal produced essential oils, that means that we're doing everything we possibly can to facilitate that plant to achieve its genetic expression of essential oils. We'll talk about harvest and cultivation practices. And what if I don't do it right? What if I don't harvest at just the right time or distill at just the right pressure or temperature? Does that mean it's not lavender essential oil? It still is, but it may not be therapeutic. It may not have all the supports, all the constituents that it needs to support my body so that I can be as well as I can be naturally. Oh, way cool. You get me going. So when I learned this from Gary, the importance of getting it right, because what we do is for the well-being of mankind and animals, all of living things on the earth. And so we have to get it right. Okay, synthetic just doesn't cut it. Our bodies, it's like speaking a foreign language. Our bodies don't know how to interpret those synthetic compounds. And so it has to be natural in order for our body to function with it and work with it, so that my body's systems can be supported by those essential oils and be as well as they can be. Any questions or thoughts?
No, I love that you talk about the quality, because when I first got involved, there's so many companies that they're just junk, and it's not just the fillers and the chemicals that are put in there or the lack of actual oil in the bottle because of the FDA guidelines, but you being in the farm, you know if it's distilled too early or not enough, and the testing that you guys do on
I've lost
site.
you.
Oh, can you hear me?
There we go. Yep, now I
Yeah.
can.
Yes. So one of the things that I appreciate about going to all the farms is seeing the testing right there on site and understanding the importance of being able to test it as you're looking at it, and not have it sent off 3 days. By the time it comes back, you can miss your window of when you needed to harvest or distill. So I love that I'm a geek. I like all the science of this. So just keep going and explaining how this is. And you're right. It's all about the people. It's about the animals. It's about the planet. And I love so much that you're here with us today talking about all this.
Thank you. So right here behind me, I have several plants. We're just getting started with spring planting. So as I do a 360, you'll notice a lot of greenhouse trays that are scattered throughout the greenhouse. We're just getting ready to plant over 2 million plants in our greenhouses. Okay, this is one of 3 here at the Mona Farm. And bear in mind, everything that I'm going to talk about today relates to the Mona Farm. Okay, while Seed to Seal outlines specific strict guidelines to how we produce our plants and harvest and distill, every crop is unique, right? Every crop is unique. So the plants that we're growing in Mona are specific to this climate, this soil type, this environment. And then we go to Ecuador, and it's a completely different set of plants that grow in that tropical climate. Ylang ylang, ocotea, rue, all these different plants. And they have to grow in that environment, in that climate. Then we go to France or Croatia or Canada, and every climate is unique and specific to the crops that grow there. So while we do everything naturally and sustainable and organic, there may be different tools and techniques that we use in Ecuador than what we do in Mona, because the soil and the plants require a little bit different technique in order to enable those plants to achieve their full potential. Does that make sense? So right
Yes.
here, these plants that we're getting ready to grow, there will be about 2 million lavender, goldenrod, hyssop, blue yarrow, melissa plants that we're growing here in Mona. Okay, and we'll transplant those to the field. One of the cool things that Gary taught me is, hang on just a sec, sorry. One of the things that Gary taught me is never let well enough alone, meaning don't rest on our laurels. He taught me to challenge everything that we think we know, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So right here on this table, you'll see a number of different trays with different plants and different tags. These are different research trials, testing different plants, different organic fertilizer regimens, different microbiology, different types of things. And Gary always taught us to test and try and challenge and confirm that what we're doing is the best possible way. Now, all of these different plants, that we have growing in the greenhouse and the different trials that we run are unique, right? And with that, you think, well, if they all take a little bit different growing techniques and a little bit different production practices, how do we know that? Well, Gary Young is the pioneer of essential oils. And he started way back at the beginning by going to the source and gathering what information he could that was available about that essential oil, about frankincense, about lavender. So lavender, he went to France. Frankincense, he went to Oman. He went to where it started. And from there, he started to build on that knowledge to what we have today. And we continue to live his legacy by continuing the research and studying and testing. We have to know before we grow. And so when we start the whole seed to seal process, we have to test the genetics of the seed. Test and make sure that that particular variety of plant is going to produce the right genetic expression of essential oils. Because take lavandula angustifolia, for example. There's 187 different subspecies of lavandula angustifolia. And so we have to make sure that we have just the right species that will produce a therapeutic or an effective. Right here behind me, you see our seed bank here at the Mona farm. Within that fridge, and there are 3 other fridges here at refrigerators at the Mona farm, all with different types of seed, some of which is the seed that we're testing, and some of it is seed that we've already tested that we're holding back for production. Okay, so once we have that seed and we test it and we know the genetics, then we're able to take it to the field. If you look way behind me, I don't know if you can see, clear out into the field, this is one of our research row. Okay, there are about 2 acres of ground at each farm that we use to study and research new plants, new practices, different organic farming techniques to compare it to the way that we're currently doing it and make sure that we're using the optimum best method possible to achieve the desired outcome of essential oil. So right now I'm walking over to the distillery, and at this time, just coming into spring, all of our fields are still, our fields are still somewhat dormant because it's wintertime. And so this time of year, you can still see snow up on the mountains behind me. Hang on just a second, let me set up again.
Hey, wait, it froze up a little bit on you, David. Is it frozen for you guys too? Let me see.
Okay, are we still frozen?
Yeah, a little bit. The one that's you is frozen.
Still?
Yeah.
Can you see a pile of juniper wood chips behind me?
No, I can't. I just see you. Everyone else is making comments too.
How about now?
No, not yet. Do you need to jump out and jump back in maybe?
Let me see.
Yeah, they're all saying the same thing. It's frozen for them too. I
Okay,
definitely want to see what you're showing us too. That's cool.
Let me see if I can connect to a different network here.
Okay. Let me look here.
How about now?
Still frozen.
Still frozen.
I wonder if
try this.
Yeah, do that.
You can see the wood chips behind me?
No. All I see is your face frozen, unfortunately. Let me see what happens. Did you go out and come back in?
Yeah, maybe. It's odd that I can, let me cancel this. How about now? I just turned off my camera. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can definitely hear you, but it's still
How about
showing
now?
the thing. I can still hear you. It's still not showing the camera part. It's just showing an old, still frozen. Yeah. Everyone else, is it still frozen for you guys too? Can you guys see any different than let me look on the, yeah, it's still frozen on the other thing too for Facebook. I don't know. Do you have
let me go grab my computer.
Okay.
And see if we can use it.
Bill and David.
Okay.
You're so fun. You're great. I love it. Now he has twins. We're seeing twin Daves here. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
That's why we try to do multiple technologies, because you never know.
Yes.
Okay, so
ooh, look at that. I could almost smell it from here.
Right now we're just still in the springtime, and you can see the mountains behind me. There's still a lot of snow, and so our fields are still dormant. All of our crops, the lavender, the blue yarrow, Melissa, it's all dormant. And so right now we're in the middle of distilling juniper. And you can see behind me a large pile of the juniper wood chips. And if you were here, I could just smell it. Oh, I just dropped a whole bunch down my neck.
Oh my goodness.
But
I've
this
been
juniper
there.
wood chips are so amazing, because when we chip and grind the juniper, immediately some of the volatile compounds start to come out, and you can just smell the fragrance of the juniper wood chips. Okay, and so every day we harvest on the mountain. So growing naturally, natively in the Utah, Nevada, western Colorado region, there's what we know as the juniper, the Utah juniper. Now this plant is an invasive species, and so we work together very closely with the BLM and with the Forestry Service to manage the forests. And they actually want to remove the juniper, because in areas where there used to be springs running fresh water, as the juniper moves in, those springs have dried up. Some of the areas that we've harvested, we don't clear cut anything, okay? We manage that forestry terrain, and the landowner works with the BLM to then plant back native forbs and grasses and other species of trees to best manage that forest area. Make sure that we have natural habitat and area to be. One of the important things about Seed to Seal is that we ensure sustainability through the naturally sustainable practices we use, right? So in areas that we have removed the juniper, 2 years later, we come back, those fresh grasses and forbs are growing. And in one area, the spring that dried up has now started to run again because the roots of the juniper use more in the summertime, about 50 gallons of water a day, one tree. Just really consume a lot of water. So anyway, we're doing great things for the state of Utah, and we're able to utilize the essential oil from this great plant. So right here behind me, you see several kettles at the distillery in Mona. Now these kettles each hold about 9,000 liters of plant material. I can get my camera. Here we go. If I don't fall in, here we are. 9,000 liters of plant material fit in there. So all of these kettles behind me are currently distilling essential oil. And we put the wood chips into the kettle, and right down in the bottom, there's a circular tube. And it's that tube through which the steam enters the kettle. And the steam rides on the essential oil is lighter or less dense than the steam. And so it rides on the wings of the steam up through the plant, and it comes through this, what's called a gooseneck. Now the distillery, all of the distilleries were designed by Gary Young, very specific for essential oils. If you go to a brewery where they brew and distill liquor or beer, you'll notice that the neck on the vertical part of the neck is a lot taller. It goes straight up for a ways before it bends and goes down the gooseneck. For essential oils, we have a very short neck because some of the compounds in the essential oil are heavier and others are lighter. And we want to make sure that we capture all of the constituents in the essential oil. So what happens if we don't distill at the right time or the right temperature, or we have the wrong design of distillery? It's still lavender essential oil, but it may not carry all of the compounds and constituents that we need for it to be effective to work with our body. Make sense?
Yes.
I'm probably going to say that again because I love it. So anyway, bear with me. All right, so we're going to head downstairs and see the bottom half of this distillery. So down under the ground, you can see those kettles poke down through the floor. And each kettle is unique. So the steam comes in, and you can see the steam release behind me. The steam comes into these kettles, and it filters in up through this bottom. Where am I at here? There we go. Up through that bottom pipe in the center, and it filters up through all the plant material, carrying the oil out. And then when it goes through the gooseneck, it comes down that large pipe behind me. Let's see, where'd it go? I'm not finding it. There it is. Okay. That large pipe in diameter behind me is called a condenser. So if we look in the end of the condenser, I don't know if you can see, this one's a little more clear. There we go. If you look in the end of the condenser, you can see a whole bunch of little tubes. All of those little tubes are the steam and essential oil coming down out of the kettle. And there's cold water being pushed up the outer jacket to cool that steam and essential oil. And then it comes down right into, here, this one's turning a little more. Sorry to walk all around. It comes right down into the kettle, and you can actually see the essential oil bubbling up. And it separates in this separator naturally, just by gravity. And you can see the essential oil coming in and it's moving up. Very cool.
That's
At this
awesome.
point, that is pure juniper essential oil.
Yes.
And at that point, the only other thing we do is we add more water to the kettle. So this is a separator. We add more water to the separator tank, and it pushes the oil up in that vial and down the funnel. And once it comes out the funnel, we retrieve it out this stop cock. Okay, and so very cool, the production of essential oil and how it works. At that point, we don't do any more processing. We simply filter it, and then it gets tested. Where does it get tested? Well, guess what? We send it off to a lab that's about 10 feet away. Okay, this is our laboratory. Let's go in the lab. All right, every one of our corporate farms has what's called a GC. That's this instrument right behind me. And the GC has the ability to test all of the constituents and confirm that we have the right constituents, the right percentages or concentration of each constituent, and that essential oil meets our spec. Okay, very, very, very cool. And so it comes in here, it gets tested. Now these are just preliminary tests that we run at the farm to confirm generally that it's going to pass spec. Okay. After it leaves the farm, it goes to our warehouse and our quality control center, where everything is tested in triplicate, and it runs through about 15. This is one instrument. There's 15 different types of instruments that are used to test our essential oils. Some test pH, some test the microbial count. Is there microbiology in the essential oil or not? We don't want any, right? Because it has to be stable. And generally, the essential oil is a great antiseptic, and so microbes don't live in the essential oil. Essentials or essential oil compounds and enzymes do, and that's what helps to support our natural wellness in our body. So when it gets to the DC, it tests through 15 different types of tests. And I can go way into that if we have time at the end, and you want to know more about the quality control and analytics, we can do that. Here behind me, this is a small still that we use for testing new plants. So when we have new plants that we want to test just a small quantity and confirm if it's going to be a good essential oil for us or not, we can use this small still. All right. So, well, you know what? It's loud out there. I would like to share, how much more time can I have?
You got about 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, really? Do you mind if I just do a little bit of a review and share some stories? But I'd like to share my screen if I can.
Yeah, let me see yeah, you should be able to share screen at the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, do you see at the bottom where it says share screen?
Yep.
Okay, good.
You'll remember, Sharnael, these slides from On the Grow. Are you okay if I go through some of those?
Yeah.
Are those that are in attendance, will they have been to On the Grow by chance?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, in that case, I think it would be great if you don't mind me just reviewing some of that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so authentic matters, and really this comes down to how effective the essential oils are to support our well-being, right?
Yes.
Because given that the plants don't speak synthetic, we can't just dump on synthetic fertilizer, because I don't know who it was back in 1902. Hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. We talked about seed in the greenhouse a little bit. Seed genetics are very, very critical. But back in 1902, here's two different soil types. The one on the left is conventional farmed soil, and the one on the right is an organic soil. Okay, and I don't know who it was back in 1903 or 1902 that invented synthetic fertilizer, synthetic nitrogen, but they found that they could put $50 of synthetic fertilizer on the field and get $100 back in yield. What they didn't realize, with all of their chemicals and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers, you're killing my soil. You're killing it. And life is required to give life. I'll say that again. Life is required to give life. So if we look at the soil on the right with worms and insects and all kinds of microbiology, that soil is alive and living. So we have one option to put on synthetic fertilizer and feed the plant, or we can feed the soil and regenerate soil health and microbiology in the soil that feeds the plant. And it's an auto-sustainable system with all the microbiology and micronutrients. One bacteria and one fungi in the soil wander around, and then there's a protozoa, and he eats the bacteria and he poops out all of the phosphorus, nitrogen, and fertilizer that the plant needs. But guess what? It's awesome because those nutrients are in an organic form. It's in a language that the plant understands and can utilize. It's in the form of amino acid chains and organics, so the plant thrives on that organic fertilizer. Very cool. One of the things that we do at our farms to ensure healthy soils and a healthy microbiome and a given atmosphere for the microbiology and the insects to grow is we plant a lot of cover crops. In between our groves of trees at Highland Flats, we have a myriad of cover crops. In Ecuador, cover crops. In Mona, in France. This is one practice that we use at all of our farms. Why? Because anytime you can have biodiversity and living roots growing in the soil, they create shelter from solar radiation to protect the microbiology and the insects, and they thrive. When I was in college and I studied soil science, I was under the impression that soil generation to create a healthy soil was on a geologic time frame, that it might take hundreds, if not thousands of years to create soil. As I've watched our soils under cover crops, within a 2-year window of time, we completely regenerate health and life in that soil because it creates a shade and protects the microbiology from the solar radiation. And when I go out into a field where there's no cover crops, I'm just there all by myself, me and the plant. But if I go into a field that has cover crops, I got all kinds of friends, insects and bees and butterflies and worms and all the kinds of microbiology growing in the soil. And what does that mean? That means that those plants will be able to access the moisture and the nutrients that they need, not only to grow and be green, but to reach their full potential and develop their full genetic expression of essential oils. That means that when we harvest that plant and distill the essential oil, we will not be lacking in any of the constituents because that plant had everything that it needed to grow and be healthy. So when you come to our farms, you're not going to see bare soil. You're going to see a few weeds. You're going to see cover crops. And you're going to see our plants flourishing because they have the support of that biodiversity. Very cool. In order to farm sustainably, we have to give back to Mother Earth. And we give back with organic mulch, compost, and balanced microbiology to be able to regenerate and maintain a sustainable, healthy soil. Very cool. One of the things that Gary found is we could actually reproduce enzymes in microbiology. So we put compost and we go out into forest soils and find fungi-rich soil organic matter, and we put it into a bucket and we start to aerate it. And man, the microbes start bouncing around and rubbing into each other, and they start to reproduce. And they repopulate, doubling about every 20 minutes. So if we sit there and allow this compost tea to brew for a couple of days, we get literally billions of microbes and enzymes and amino acids, fulvic acid, malic acid, that we can put back into the soil that helps to rebuild soil structure, to create a microbiome of healthy microbiology that can support plant health by providing organic nutrients to the soil. Every time I would go with Gary into the field, he would be studying the plants. He would smell it, and he would be thinking about the aromatics and what are the properties in these plants that can help support natural wellness. Phenols, lanolin, the different chemical components or the different compounds that are in essential oils that help to support the adrenal gland, my energy and my neurological system, helps to support the health of my skin, my blood. Every system that we have in our body can receive support from the essential oils of plants. Why? Because they're biological too. And the plants have these biological compounds that support their immune system and their natural wellness and their healing. And they benefit us as humans that are also biological to support our natural wellness. A quick story. Harvest. This is blue yarrow is the white flower, and goldenrod is the yellow flower. Okay, so when we get ready to harvest, it's very critical that we harvest at exactly the right time. Why? If you think about, for example, puberty, right? If I haven't gone through puberty, I haven't fully matured, I'm not ready to reproduce, am I? Well, our plants are very much the same way. They have to reach a certain growth stage through the flowering stage in order to have the ability to develop all of the constituents of essential oils. How do we know when it's the right growth stage? We have a little instrument called a Brix meter that measures the sugar content in the plant. So we take some of the plant and we squeeze it out. Actually, I'm gonna take you and show you. Can you still see me? Can you still see me? Oh, it's not here.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. I don't know where it went. All right. Well, there's an instrument that we use to press. It's basically a steel press. And we use that to press the plants. And when we press the plants, we get some of the sap that comes out of the plants, that's in the plants. And we take that sap and we run it in the Brix meter, and we're able to look at that sap and determine the sugar content. All right, why does that matter? All right, pretend like I'm a tulip or a dandelion. Okay, the sun's shining, I'm all in my full splendor, the aromatics are awesome, the bees are going nuts. What happens when the barometric pressure drops and it gets overcast and it starts to rain? What does that tulip do, or that dandelion? They close up, right? They close up, and the essentials, all of the essence, the floral aromatics, revert back into the crown of the plant. Okay, so if we harvest at the wrong time, or at the wrong growth stage, or in the wrong climatic conditions, all of the constituents that we need to make a full-bodied essential oil won't be present. So one day, this would have been 2 years ago, I was out in the goldenrod field, and I was measuring Brix. It was about 9:30 in the morning. And the Brix content for goldenrod has to be above 22 for the sugar content to let us know that all of the constituents are up in the plant. And I measured the sugar content, and it was about 19. I'm like, oh, it's not quite ready yet. And I looked around, and I noticed on the underside of all of these yellow flowers, there was a bee. I'm going to wonder. Let's see. I'm going to get distracted. Hang with me just for a second.
It's all good. This is great, David. I love this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry I'm a little all over the place here, but
no, I hope you guys are sharing and tagging, because this is really, really good stuff. So please, if you're out there watching, please share and tag right now.
I'm not going to find what I'm looking for.
That's a lot of pictures.
I got to remember what day it was. We're getting close. Bear with me. Here we are.
Oh.
Okay, so that bumblebee is just hanging on the side of the plant. Okay, and I turn around and I test the bricks again. It's about 9:45 in the morning, and still I'm only at about 20 of a bricks reading, and I got to get above 22. And so I'm waiting there another 10 minutes, and it's about 5 minutes to 10, and I look back, and all of a sudden all the bees are just going nuts. They were just sitting there hanging on the stem, right? But then as I look back, all of a sudden all the bees are just going crazy, and they're buzzing all around all of the goldenrod.
Huh.
And so I grabbed the bricks meter and I test again, and all of a sudden the bricks just jumped to 26, and it was time to harvest. And what was incredible to me is the scientific means by which we test the plants and ensure that all of the components and constituents are ready to harvest, that nature was able to confirm that as well. That was the coolest thing. And there was easily, hundreds of bees just buzzing, active, engaged, where 5 minutes before they were all just hanging out on the underside of the flower. And it was in the instant that flower or that plant was finally ready to release its essentials that the bees went crazy. They were ready to collect pollen, and we were ready to harvest and distill for essential oil. Very cool experience.
Wow. That is, see, everything is talking, everything's speaking, and we're just paying attention. We can just follow nature.
And that's one of the things that Gary noticed is for one, if you wind back the clock and he's laying there in a hospital bed and the doctor's pounding him with inorganic synthetic drugs to try to get him to heal, and they were having an adverse effect on him. Finally he said, I'm not going to take anymore. And he started looking to natural medicine and essential oils. And realizing that this is where the power of nature, nature's living energy, essential oils, resides, that as he got healthy and went out and started to really study it and look for it and find it, and as he brought the seeds back from France and began to cultivate lavender and hyssop and clary sage and all the different crops, he found that the cultivation practices mattered. Organic farming and using these naturally sustainable farming practices and organic fertilizer and microbiology made an impact on the ability of the plant to fully produce its genetic expression of essential oils. So lying on the ground in the lower right picture is some lavender that had been harvested, and we're just getting ready to distill. And so that lavender could be put in the kettles that we looked at earlier and then distilled. Naturally sustainable farming practices render the highest quality essential oils.
Yeah, I want to jump in here too real quick, Dave, because for those of you who don't even know, the word pharmakia or pharmacy or pharmaceuticals, pharmakia actually means witchcraft. And so when he's talking about natural things and going back to basics, this is the way God created us to connect with nature. And he gave us the plants from the beginning. You can, all through scriptures, there's 1,600 scriptures that support essential oils, with the Levites, with the disciples, with Jesus, with all of us, because in Revelations it says the trees or the leaves are for the healing of the nations. And so again, we can't say, we're not saying that it heals, but it does support your physical body and your regular system of immunity, and supports all of our systems to let our body do what it's supposed to anyway. And so I just love nature. I mean, even sunshine or earthing, all the code, and being on a farm. I lived on farms, on a farm growing up. And so even what you've shown us today in your visuals, I just thank you so much for what you're showing us. Keep going. Let's see what else you got.
I'd like to share one more story, if I can.
Yes.
Well, actually, there might be two, but it's because you can't get me to be quiet once you get me going. I need to find. That's not it. Where did I put?
Hey guys, if you are in the group and you can't share from the group, you could definitely go from my main page and you can share it everywhere, but please do share and tag.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to find that. You're going to have to use your imagination on this one. Okay. We're going to go. Actually, I want everybody to engage with this. Okay. Everybody's going to have to do what I'm doing. We're going to go on an adventure together. Can you see me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Can you guys see?
When Gary found that a number of plants could deliver the essential oils that they do, he would go on excursions to find other aromatic plants. Sometimes this would take him to the Amazon jungle. Sometimes it would take him to Ecuador. Sometimes France. Sometimes Mona, Tabiona, all of our farms, right? Where those plants originate and grow the best. So we're going to go on an excursion. To do this on your lap, we're walking, okay? Everybody walk with me, come on. We're all going for a walk through the Amazon jungle, the big brush, and we got to cut down all the brush in front of us, and we're walking, okay? Now, if we have to, we're going to clap and two on the leg. That's a run. We're going to run, and we're walking, and we're running. Okay, now, we're in the Amazon jungle, and we're walking, okay? And we're looking for aromatic plants. And while we're walking and we're smelling the aroma, we're thinking about the individual that we met on the bus that had pain, anxiety, suffering, emotional stress. Or I'm thinking about my son or my wife, right? And the challenges that we have in this mortal life. And so comes the sincere passion and purpose for our pursuit to find a plant with all of the aromatics and the right genetic expression of essential oils that could support our natural wellness. So we're hiking, we're walking, we're clearing the brush, we're walking, and all of a sudden we come to a ravine. It's this big canyon, clear down, and we look down the canyon, and it's just a massive ravine. And we look up the canyon and we see a bridge. And so we run. Oh, let's get to the bridge. Come on, everybody. Don't get left behind. You got to run to the bridge. So we run to the bridge. We get up to the bridge, and there's the gatekeeper at the bridge. And the gatekeeper says, "Now, you can't cross my bridge unless you pay the toll. You got to pay $5 to cross my bridge." And we look across the bridge, and we see this prehistoric rope bridge that half of the supports are missing. And some of the boards are rotted. And we're just thinking, I'm thinking to myself, if I go across this bridge, I'm going to die. There's no way it's going to support getting me across the bridge. So we look up the bridge, $5. And we look down the bridge, or down the canyon. We look up the canyon, and we see another bridge. Oh, there's hope. Another bridge. Come on. So we run. And we get up to the other bridge, and there's another gatekeeper. And this other gatekeeper says, you can't cross my bridge unless you pay the toll of $50. And I'm thinking to myself, $50 just to cross the bridge? Come on. But we look across the bridge, and we see that it's this nice, fully sound steel cables, every single support that it needs, every board that it needs is completed in this suspension bridge. And boy, I'm going to feel secure and safe as I go across this bridge and feel like it's really going to be able to support my weight to get across to the other side, that I might actually arrive alive. Very cool. Yeah, I'll pay the $50 because I don't want to die on the other bridge, right? Now, the reason that I share this story, and hopefully you could visualize these two rope suspension bridges, is because they're very similar to our essential oils and the way essential oils are produced in the world today. There are those who try to use synthetic counterfeit compounds to make essential oils. Very common in the perfume industry. And there are those who follow the seed to seal standards and grow naturally and sustainably to ensure that that crop has every opportunity to develop all of the constituents needed to support our wellness naturally. What's the difference? That is done synthetically or adulterated or harvested at the wrong time perhaps, or it's not distilled at the right temperature or with the right equipment, or maybe it's contaminated in some way. I don't know. For whatever reason, that's the bridge that's missing some of the supports. That's the essential oil that may not have all the constituents to support my natural wellness. What bridge do we want to be on? What essential oil do we want to use? That has all of the supports, that is a full-bodied essential oil, a complete and intact bridge to support our natural wellness, to bridge the gap between mortality and a healthy lifestyle. Very cool. As we come to an end here, do I have another minute?
You do. Another minute. Go for it.
Okay. I would like to share, if I may, this video of some of the things that Gary, just so you get a feel for Gary Young. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear the music from this or not, but this is our farm in Mona, right? This is one of our lavender fields. And you're going to get a feel for some of the other things that Gary did and the experiences of what he taught. He was definitely a teacher, a driver, a visionary to understand what God intended with natural wellness. Very dedicated and worked harder than any man I've ever met. Passionate about what he did and cared about the people for which he did it with and did it for. Very cool. I'd like to end with this thought. God has given us something important, not only the seeds we plant, the crops we grow, and the natural resources that we use to grow them, but also the knowledge, the tools and technologies we apply, the colleagues we work with, and the people that we serve. So remember, when we cultivate our fields, grow our crops, distill our oils, and manage our teams and interact with all the people that we come into contact with, that we must care about how we do it. Gary Young.
That's awesome. So I can say, I've been to the Canadian farms. I've been to Oman, Croatia, France a few times. Ecuador. And I have seen the quality in Utah and all these places. And I've got to travel with him and learn from him firsthand all the science. And you're honestly the closest person that I really believe carries the essence of who he is as a person, and just the love that you have, not only just for nature and the plants and the way everything works out, but also for the people involved in being able to being on the receiving end of that. And so I'm so thankful for meeting you and for finally getting you on here. It's taken me a year to get this interview. You're so busy. But I know everyone, there was several that were working during this time to get it done, but I know that this will be watched over and over again and shared with many, many people, and people will be able to connect with you and what you're doing. And you're such an honorable person and a loving person. And I'm glad to know that there's people like you who are taking care of this and overseeing what Gary meant, and how he started this from the beginning, and, you know, carrying this tradition, and all of us get to carry on the legacy too. All of us get to be the ones in this field, a different field. He's in the actual field, and we're in the different field of talking to people and connecting with people and giving them options and showing them how there are other ways to support our body without the side effects. And so I hope that all of you will share and tag and continue to remember Gary and what he started, and the great amount of opportunity, especially in this day right now where we're at on the planet with things going on, that we can be a light, we can be love, and we can be a vessel of something beautiful and harmonious, literally, with energy and with the plants and with nature the way God intended. And so thank you again, David Little. I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon, hopefully.
So I want to touch on two things real quick. Number one, my role has changed recently. So I do a lot with research and development and understanding our organic farming practices. But I get engaged in a lot of speaking, and so I'm not actually in the fields as much as I would like to be, right? And so we need to give credit for everything that is producing and the work that's being done to our farm managers, to our field staff that are actually out getting the job done. I simply get to be the messenger of an amazing message, right? Of how we produce our essential oils and what it can mean to us individually. The other thing is I would like to throw out an invitation to you. The end of February, I will be at the St. Mary's farm. If you'd like to connect again, do another tour of a different farm, I'd be happy to do that for you.
I would so love that. I know yes, definitely put me down on the schedule. You just tell me when, and we will do that. I know everyone will love that very much. Thank you for that opportunity.
I know that it will be, I think the 27th is a Saturday.
Okay.
And so it would probably be the 26th. I have another meeting engagement there on Saturday the 27th. And so we'll probably do something on that Friday.
That's great. That would work for you. That 100% works for me. I will send you a text after this, and we'll hunker down on a time and a date.
Okay. And if there are any specific topics that you would like to address or touch on, let me know, and we can have some props, some information ready to really be able to share that.
Yes, and maybe even some Q&A. If you guys have any questions here, go ahead and put them in the comments. So when we meet again in a few weeks, sorry, I got a plane coming here. Oh no, it's a helicopter. When we meet again, you guys can ask all the questions, and we can kind of do that too towards the end. And thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for investing in all of us here, and all of you who are watching. Just please do your due diligence in sharing with people out there to let them know that we're here and we can help. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be in touch. Talk soon. Oh, that's the distillery, huh? Yeah, for those of you who didn't see this at the beginning, this is the beautiful distillery. Everybody leave hearts and high fives and thank yous to David Little as we close here today. And I love all of you so much. I'm so proud of you for what every one of you are doing. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.